Hello everyone, it's me again, and I'm here with another video. Today's video will be, what if Starscream survived, specifically in the Bayverse. This video is being released today because today is Memorial Day, so I would like to give you all happy Memorial Day first of all. And fighter jets are usually a part of the military, which is what celebrate on Memorial Day. And Starscream usually turns into a fighter jet. But in the Bay films, he turns into like a Raptor 22, if that's what it is. But let's just not waste any more time and dive into what if Starscream survived. And I will give out an important question at the end of the video, but let's just dive into the story properly, shall we? So let's start off at Transformers Dark of the Moon, the very movie where Starscream died. I think instead of, getting the bomb into his eye, which killed him, here's how things could play out differently. Starscream could have still lost his eye. Spike could have shot the grappling hook at his eye. But Starscream could have cut the wire to the grappling hook, causing Sam and Lennox, if he were to still catch on, to fall. And then he gets the bomb out of his eye somehow. I don't know how, I just don't. Starscream would then escape, but knowing he's blind, he kind of like crashes and then he fights Bumblebee and potentially someone like Sideswipe, but Starscream ends up escaping, though barely because of the fact that he lost his other eye. He would, of course, witness Optimus Prime killing Megatron, and so Starscream would decide that he will now lead the Decepticons. And now we move on to Transformers Age of Extinction. Though I picture two scenarios, I'm just going to go with scenario one first. So, by the time of Age of Extinction, Starscream would take a back seat. However, he wouldn't appear until the end, where he would recruit some new Decepticons. These would be surviving KSI drones. They would be Thundercracker, Skywarp, Slipstream, Thrust, Dirge, Ramjet, Sunstorm, Dreadwing, Thrust, Breakdown, Knockout, and Nightbird. As well as Makeshift. Potentially Makeshift if possible. But when the last night comes around, Megatron would just be Galvatron. I say this because I could picture the ending. Starscream finds out Galvatron is still alive. Or at least Megatron is now back as Galvatron, and so decides to form his own Decepticon squadron, if you will, to combat Galvatron's side of things. So yeah, like a Decepticon Civil War. Galvatron's Decepticons would be Onslaught, Barricade, Mohawk, Dreadbot, Berserker, and Blastoff. Yes, Nitro Zeus wouldn't exist. And of course, Nightbird would join Megatron's side of things. Now, the Decepticons I think that would die in this movie would be Berserker, Dreadbot, Mohawk, Skyquake, and Sunstorm, as well as Thrust and Dirge. Now, Barricade, of course, would appear in the last night still, but he might have met his end. I don't know. Probably not. Because knowing Barricade. But Thundercracker and Skywarp would be assumed dead at the end. However, Galvatron would be saved by Unicron and would be upgraded into a more G1 color scheme, whereas Thundercracker and Skywarp would then become Scourge and Cyclonus. Now, what about Starscream? Like his fate in the final battle. While all the other Decepticons would escape, Starscream, I think, would be killed. Like, he dies. However, he becomes a ghost, like in G1. Now, the new Autobots I would picture would be the same as they were in Age of Extinction, just with the additions of Cliffjumper and Bulkhead replacing Hound. And Cliffjumper would be killed off in the last night by Starscream, as a nod to Starscream killing him in Transformers Prime. But then we have to move on to scenario 2. What if Age of Extinction last night never happened? Starscream would gather some remaining Decepticons like Onslaught, Dreadbot, Berserker, and of course, the Seekers like Thundercracker, Skywarp, Dirge, Thrust, and Ramjet, as well, and Sunstorm. And of course, maybe some other Decepticons like Blastoff, Swindle, Vortex, and whoever would fill in for Brawl to replace the Combaticons. Maybe Armorhide or some other Decepticon tank like Tankor. But the new Autobots of Drift and Crosshairs would still come along with Bulkhead and Cliffjumper. Maybe a female Autobot like, I don't know, Moonracer? I really don't know. I mean, Hotshot could also come to Earth in scenario 2. Now, Transformers 4 would be dedicated to the Age of Starscream arc, but with these new Autobots, I could picture it being identical to Trans Theory's Transformers Age of Starscream. And yes, Barricade would be one of those Decepticons. Or probably not, because he was not in Age of Extinction. So Barricade is dead. The Autobots that would be killed off would be Mirage, Topspin, and Roadbuster. Yes, Sideswipe and Bumblebee would survive, as well as Sam. But Starscream, Thrust, Dirge, Ramjet, Sunstorm, as well as Berserker, they all are killed. And Starscream would in the future become a ghost. Like in G1. And Megatron would eventually be reborn as Galvatron. But this would continue like a Transformers 5. I don't know why, if it's just me, but Trans Theories didn't like continue this into The Last Night for some reason. Not sure why. It beats me. But that's why Starscream survived in the Bayverse. And I will say this about my Bayverse rewritten series. I might actually bring Starscream back as a ghost. I don't know what would be the right time to bring him back in. Maybe 5 Phases of Darkness, because Starscream's Ghost was a Season 3 episode, so it might make sense. But I don't want that to be overcrying the storyline. I might want that to be more of a setup for the 6th movie, Rise of Unicron, where Starscream's ghost is haunting Megatron as a consequence of Megatron killing him in Dark of the Moon. But it might happen in 5 Phases of Darkness. Who knows, honestly. I honestly like the idea of Starscream's ghost haunting Megatron as a consequence of Megatron killing him. But, anyways, I will see you all later, and stay tuned for Starscream's return in Five Faces of Darkness.